The Adventure of the Second Stain. At the start of the story, Dr. John Watson, the tale's narrator, apologizes for the vagueness of some of the details in his story, explaining that it is because they touch on sensitive areas of international politics. Lord Bellinger, the Prime Minister, and Trelawney Hope, the Secretary for European Affairs, go to the apartment which Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes share. They have come to ask for Sherlock Holmes' assistance in a matter of national security, about the matter of a document stolen from Hope's dispatch box, which he kept at home in Whitehall Terrace when not at work. 6 days earlier, Trelawney Hope received a long thin blue envelope with a red wax seal. If divulged, this document could bring about very dire consequences for all of Europe, even war. They are loath to tell Holmes at first the exact nature of the document's contents, but when Holmes declines to take on their case, they tell him it was a rather injudicious letter from a foreign potentate. The envelope contained a hastily written letter from a European king. The king had been angered by some recent development in British colonial expansion. The letter contains some phrases which are of so provocative a character that, if the British public found out about them, war would be unavoidable. Due to the sensitive nature of the letter, Trelawney Hope did not put it in his safe but carried it with him at all times, taking it home and putting it in a dispatch box in his bedroom in the evening. It disappeared from the dispatch box one evening when Hope was out for 4 hours. On the evening before he went to see Holmes, Trelawney Hope saw the letter in his dispatch box at 7:30 p.m. After his wife returned from a trip to the theater alone, Trelawney Hope went to bed at 11:30 p.m. When he got up in the morning, Trelawney Hope found that the letter had disappeared. Since both Trelawney Hope and his wife are light sleepers and would have woken up if anybody had entered their room while they were in bed, Trelawney Hope is certain that the letter was stolen between 7:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. Sherlock Holmes is told that nobody else in England knows about the letter, except for the members of the cabinet who were all sworn to secrecy. Apart from the king himself, nobody in the other European kingdom knows about the letter either because it was written without any advice from the king's ministers. Only 3 servants have access to Trelawney Hope's bedroom. Trelawney Hope has complete trust in all 3 of them and doesn't believe they know anything about the letter, since he hasn't told them about it. He adds that his wife doesn't know about the letter's contents either because he never talks about politics with her. The king, who has come to regret having written the letter, has been informed of its loss by a secret telegram. His country is even less prepared for war than Britain is. It appears that the letter must have been stolen by agents of a third country who want to provoke a war between the king's nation and Britain to further their own agenda. Before Holmes has a chance to act, Lady Hilda Trelawney Hope, the European Secretary's wife, arrives unexpectedly at 221B Baker Street. She asks Holmes insistently about the stolen document's contents, saying that it is in her husband's best interest for her to know, but Holmes refuses to tell her anything about it. He only reveals there would be regrettable consequences if the document were not found. Holmes reads terror in Lady Hilda's eyes. Lady Hilda also begs Holmes to tell her husband nothing of her visit. Holmes believes that the letter has probably been taken out of the country already. However, it is possible that it is still in the hands of a spy who might be prepared to sell it back to the British government. Holmes says that he will go to see some of the secret agents he knows to be operating in London, naming Oberstein, Lardiere, and Eduardo Lucas. He is astonished to hear from Dr. Watson that one of them has been murdered. Watson tells Holmes that he will not see Eduardo Lucas because, according to the newspaper, he was found murdered at his home at 11:45 p.m. the night before. Eduardo Lucas was stabbed to death with an Indian dagger taken from a display on his wall at his house in Godolphin Street, near Whitehall. Nothing appears to have been stolen from him. Holmes is convinced that it is no coincidence that the man was killed at around the same time that the letter was stolen. Without inviting Dr. Watson to go with him, Holmes leaves for the scene of the crime. For 3 days, he participates in the official police investigation into the murder. He tells Watson nothing about it, claiming that there is nothing to tell. Holmes' spy hunt doesn't go well. It lasts days without result. As for the murder, the police arrest Midden, Lucas' valet, but soon release him as he has a solid alibi. On the 4th day, there is a new development in the murder investigation. It's revealed that Eduardo Lucas, who was known to have spent several months of each year in Paris, had been leading a double life. In Paris, he went by the name of Henri Ferney and married a woman under that name. Madame Henri Ferney has been declared legally insane. She's known to have been in London at the time of Eduardo Lucas' death, and it's theorized that she either murdered him while she was insane or that she went mad after she killed him. French police arrest Madame Fournier as the probable murderer of Lucas. She was seen in London near Lucas's house the night of the crime, but she's now useless as a witness because she has gone insane. Inspector Lestrade calls Holmes to the murder scene to examine something odd. Holmes and Watson go to the house where Eduardo Lucas was killed. They are met by Inspector Lestrade and a police officer named Macpherson. Lestrade tells them that, thanks to the Paris police, the mystery of Eduardo Lucas' death has been solved, but there's another smaller mystery. Eduardo Lucas bled to death on a rug in the living room. There is a large blood stain on both sides of the rug, but curiously, there's no blood stain on the wooden floorboards underneath the stained part of it. However, there's a blood stain on the floorboards covered by an unstained part of the rug. It's obvious that the rug has been moved. It can only mean that the constable guarding the crime scene has been foolish enough to let someone in, and leave them alone while they move things in the room, including the carpet. Holmes tells Lestrade that Macpherson, who has been guarding the house every day since the murder, let somebody into the room. He tells Lestrade to speak to Macpherson about it in private. The inspector goes off to angrily confront the constable. When Lestrade leaves the room, and while he is remonstrating with his wayward constable, and therefore cannot learn anything about the other investigation involving the document, Holmes starts trying to lift up the floorboards that had been covered by the rug. He finds that one of the floorboards lifts up easily, but that the cavity underneath it is empty. By the time that Lestrade returns, the rug and the floorboard are back in place. Lestrade and the constable come back. Lestrade makes Macpherson tell Holmes and Watson what happened. The constable says that a young woman came to the house the previous evening. She said that she was answering a job advertisement for a typist. After it was pointed out to her that she had come to the wrong address and was in the house where Eduardo Lucas was killed, she asked to see the room where the murder took place. When she saw the large blood stain on the rug, she fainted. Having failed to revive the woman with water, Macpherson went to a pub to get some brandy. By the time that he got back to the house, the woman had gone. As Holmes is leaving Lucas' house, he shows the constable a photograph, and he recognizes it as the visitor. The constable has a look of amazement on his face and cries out in surprise. Holmes now knows where the stolen document is, but not why it was stolen. Holmes and Watson go straight to the house of Trelawney Hope, but it is Lady Hilda Trelawney Hope that Holmes asks to see. Holmes reveals that the object which he showed to Macpherson was a photograph of Lady Hilda. He knows that she was the woman who went to the house the previous evening and knows that she has the stolen letter. At first, she denies everything, but is forced to admit her wrongdoing under the threat of certain scandal. Lady Hilda very reluctantly admits that this is true and that she was blackmailed by Eduardo Lucas. Lady Hilda explains that Eduardo Lucas got hold of a letter that she wrote before she was married, which would shock her husband if he read it. Through spies in Trelawney Hope's office, Eduardo Lucas found out about the letter from the king. He told Lady Hilda that he would send the letter that she wrote long ago to her husband unless she gave him the letter from the king. A duplicate key for the dispatch box was made from an impression that Lady Hilda took. Lady Hilda brought the letter from the king to Eduardo Lucas and saw him place it underneath the floorboard, which was then covered by the rug. As she was leaving, Lady Hilda saw another woman arrive. From comments that the woman made in French, it was obvious that she mistook Lady Hilda for Eduardo Lucas' lover. Lady Hilda saw the man and woman begin to fight but hurriedly left before Eduardo Lucas was killed. Since her husband never spoke to her about politics, Lady Hilda had no idea about the letter's contents before she took it. However, once she saw how much distress the loss of the letter caused him, she became desperate to recover it. However, she returned to fetch the stolen document after her visit to Holmes convinced her she needed to do so. She hands the document to Holmes. Her only problem is how to return it. Holmes suggests putting it back in the dispatch box using Lady Hilda's duplicate key. Using the duplicate key to open the dispatch box, Holmes places the letter inside the pages of another document in the box. Shortly afterwards, Trelawney Hope returns home with the Prime Minister. Holmes tells Trelawney Hope that, since none of the negative effects expected to come about as a result of the letter's theft have happened, he believes that it's still in the dispatch box, shuffled between other papers. Trelawney Hope reluctantly looks through the contents of his dispatch box again. He is surprised and delighted to find the blue envelope inside it. Hope rejoices that it was apparently only a mistake. In this way, the lost document is restored without Lady Hilda's part in the affair being revealed, though at the possible price of making her husband look a bit stupid. As soon as Trelawney Hope leaves the room, the Prime Minister expresses doubts about the letter having been in the dispatch box all the time. He suspects Holmes knows more than he is telling, but Holmes refuses to tell the Prime Minister anything more about the matter, and simply responds, "We also have our diplomatic secrets."